Imagine this. You've worked tirelessly for months on a project, pouring your heart and soul into it, only to see it crumble in an instant. The disappointment is crushing, the frustration overwhelming. You feel like the world is against you, and for a moment you're not sure how to move forward. Sound familiar? Life has a way of testing us, doesn't it? But what if I told you that within these moments of struggle lies an opportunity, not just to endure, but to grow stronger, wiser, and more resilient? This is where the timeless wisdom of Stoicism comes in. As Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." Stoicism isn't about avoiding challenges, it's about facing them with courage and clarity. It's about understanding that while we can't control what happens to us, we can control how we respond. In this video, we'll explore 20 Stoic principles that can help you stay strong when life tests you. These principles are more than just ideas. They're tools to help you navigate adversity, transform setbacks into stepping stones, and cultivate a mindset of resilience. Whether you're dealing with failure, loss, or uncertainty, these teachings offer a path to inner strength and peace. So, if you're ready to discover how Stoicism can help you turn life's challenges into opportunities for growth, keep watching. By the end of this video, you'll have a toolkit of timeless wisdom to help you face whatever comes your way with confidence and grace. Let's begin. Now turning to the first principle, let's dive into one of the most foundational ideas in Stoicism, focusing on what you can control. At the heart of Stoic philosophy lies the dichotomy of control, the understanding that some things are within our power while others are not. This simple yet profound distinction is the key to reducing anxiety, building resilience, and finding peace in the face of life's challenges. As Epictetus, one of the great Stoic teachers, famously said, "Some things are within our power while others are not. Within our power are opinion, motivation, desire, and aversion. In a word, whatever is of our own doing." In other words, we can't control external events, but we can control how we respond to them. This shift in focus is where true strength begins. Think about it. When you're faced with criticism, for example, you can't control what others say about you, but you can control how you react, whether you let it upset you or choose to see it as an opportunity for growth. This principle isn't just about managing criticism, it's about recognizing where your energy is best spent. Too often, we waste time and emotional energy on things we can't change: traffic jams, other people's opinions, or unexpected setbacks. But when we redirect that energy toward what we can control, our thoughts, actions, and attitudes, we reclaim our power. So, here's a question to reflect on. Where in your life are you overextending your energy on things beyond your control? Maybe it's a situation at work, a relationship, or even a personal goal that hasn't gone as planned. By identifying these areas and shifting your focus to what you can influence, you'll not only reduce stress but also cultivate a sense of calm and resilience. This principle is a reminder that strength doesn't come from controlling the world around us. It comes from mastering our inner world, and that's where true freedom lies. Now turning to the second principle, let's explore the power of embracing the present moment. How often do you find yourself dwelling on the past or worrying about the future? It's easy to get caught up in regrets about what's already happened or anxieties about what's yet to come. But the Stoics remind us that the only moment we truly have is the one we're living in right now. Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic emperor, once wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." His words are a powerful reminder of how fleeting time is and why it's so important to anchor ourselves in the present. The Stoic idea of presence isn't just about being physically here, it's about being fully engaged with the here and now, mentally and emotionally. When we're present, we're not distracted by what's already behind us or what might lie ahead. We're focused on what's happening right in front of us, and that's where we find clarity, peace, and strength. Think about it. When you're fully present, even the simplest moments can feel meaningful. A conversation with a loved one, a walk in nature, or even the act of savoring a meal. But when we're lost in thoughts about the past or future, we miss out on these experiences. This is where modern practices like mindfulness come in. Mindfulness, much like Stoic presence, is about paying attention to the present moment without judgment. It's about noticing your thoughts, feelings, and surroundings without getting swept away by them. For example, when you're feeling overwhelmed, taking a few deep breaths and grounding yourself in the present can help you regain focus and calm. So, how can you cultivate presence in your daily life? Start small. Try setting aside a few minutes each day to simply be still and observe your surroundings. Notice the sounds, the sensations, and the thoughts that arise without trying to change them. Over time, this practice can help you become more grounded and less reactive to life's challenges. The Stoics believed that by embracing the present, we not only find peace but also unlock our ability to respond to life with wisdom and resilience. So, here's a question to reflect on. What's one moment today where you can practice being fully present? Whether it's during a conversation, a task, or even a moment of rest, see what happens when you give it your full attention. The present moment is where life happens. Don't let it pass you by. Now turning to the third principle, let's explore the power of accepting what you cannot change. Life is full of challenges, many of which are beyond our control. No matter how much we plan or prepare, there will always be moments when things don't go as expected. The Stoics understood this deeply, and they developed a powerful concept to help us navigate these inevitable uncertainties: Amor Fati, or the love of fate. Amor Fati is about embracing everything that happens to us, not just the good but also the difficult, as part of a greater plan. It's about seeing every event, every setback, and every twist of fate as an opportunity to grow and learn. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, once wrote, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." His words remind us that hardships are not just obstacles, they are essential to our growth and development. When we accept what we cannot change, we free ourselves from the frustration and resistance that often make difficult situations even harder to bear. Think about it. How much energy do we waste trying to fight against things that are simply out of our hands? Whether it's a sudden job loss, a health issue, or a relationship that didn't work out, resisting reality only adds to our suffering. But when we choose to accept these challenges, we open ourselves to a sense of peace and clarity. Acceptance doesn't mean giving up or being passive. It means acknowledging reality as it is and focusing on how we can respond with strength and wisdom. For example, imagine you've worked hard on a project only to have it fall apart at the last minute. Instead of dwelling on what went wrong or blaming others, you can choose to accept the situation and focus on what you can do next. This shift in perspective can help you move forward with resilience and purpose. So, how can you practice acceptance in your own life? Start by reflecting on a situation you've struggled to accept. Maybe it's a missed opportunity, a personal failure, or a change in circumstances that feels unfair. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I grow stronger through this experience? By embracing Amor Fati, you can transform even the most difficult moments into opportunities for growth and self-discovery. The Stoics believed that true peace comes not from controlling everything around us, but from accepting what we cannot control and focusing on how we respond. So, here's a question to reflect on. What's one thing in your life right now that you need to accept? How might embracing it rather than resisting it help you find greater peace and strength? Remember, acceptance is not about giving up, it's about finding the courage to move forward, no matter what life throws your way. Now turning to the fourth principle, let's explore the idea of practicing detachment from outcomes. What if, instead of obsessing over the results, you focused entirely on the effort you put in? This is a core Stoic teaching, detaching from external outcomes to maintain inner calm and clarity. The Stoics believed that while we can control our actions and intentions, we cannot control how things will ultimately turn out. Epictetus, one of the most influential Stoic philosophers, put it this way: make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. In other words, focus on what you can do and let go of the need to control the outcome. This mindset shifts the emphasis from external validation to internal integrity, allowing you to find peace regardless of the result. Think about it. How often do we tie our self-worth to outcomes that are ultimately beyond our control? Whether it's a job interview, a creative project, or even a personal relationship, we often stress over the results, worrying about whether we'll succeed or fail. But what if, instead of fixating on the outcome, you focused on the effort you put in? For example, imagine you're preparing for a job interview. You can spend hours researching the company, practicing your answers, and refining your skills. These are all things within your control, but the final decision whether you get the job or not is not up to you. By detaching from the outcome, you free yourself from unnecessary stress and anxiety. You can walk into that interview room knowing you've done your best, regardless of what happens next. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring or stop trying. It simply means you stop letting external results dictate your happiness and self-worth. When you focus on your intentions and efforts, you cultivate a sense of inner stability that no outcome can shake. This is especially powerful in situations where the stakes feel high. For instance, if you're working on a creative project, you might pour your heart into it, only to face criticism or rejection. But if you've practiced detachment, you can appreciate the effort you put in and the growth you experienced rather than being crushed by the outcome. So, how can you start practicing detachment in your own life? Begin by identifying areas where you feel overly attached to results. Maybe it's a goal you're working toward, a relationship you're trying to improve, or a project you're passionate about. Ask yourself, am I focusing too much on the outcome? How can I shift my attention to the effort and intention behind my actions? By doing this, you'll not only reduce stress but also find greater satisfaction in the process itself. The Stoics remind us that life is unpredictable and outcomes are never guaranteed. But what we can control is how we show up, how we respond, and how we grow through the experience. So, here's a question to reflect on. What's one area of your life where you can practice detachment from outcomes? How might focusing on effort rather than results help you find greater peace and resilience? Remember, true strength comes not from controlling the world around you, but from mastering your own mind and intentions. Now turning to the fifth principle, let's explore how Stoicism teaches us to cultivate resilience through adversity. One of the most powerful examples of this comes from the life of Seneca, the Roman Stoic philosopher. Seneca was exiled to Corsica by Emperor Claudius, a punishment that could have broken anyone's spirit. Yet, instead of succumbing to despair, Seneca used his time in exile to deepen his philosophical practice. He wrote letters and essays that continue to inspire us today, showing how adversity can be transformed into an opportunity for growth. Seneca himself said, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." This is a core Stoic belief that challenges are not obstacles to avoid but opportunities to build strength and resilience. The Stoics viewed adversity as a teacher, a force that shapes us into stronger, wiser versions of ourselves. Marcus Aurelius, another towering figure in Stoicism, put it this way: the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. In other words, the very things that seem to block our path can become the tools we use to move forward. This mindset shifts how we perceive hardship. Instead of seeing it as something to fear or avoid, we can see it as a chance to grow. Think about it. How often have you faced a setback or failure that, in hindsight, taught you something valuable? Maybe it was a job loss that pushed you to explore a new career path, or a relationship ending that helped you understand yourself better. These moments, though painful at the time, often become the foundation for future success. For example, imagine someone who loses their job unexpectedly. At first, it feels like a crushing blow, but over time, they might discover new skills, build a stronger network, or even start their own business. The adversity they faced became the catalyst for growth. So how can you apply this principle in your own life? Start by reframing how you view challenges. When something difficult happens, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can this experience make me stronger? The Stoics believed that every challenge carries a lesson, and it's up to us to uncover it. This doesn't mean you have to enjoy hardship, but it does mean you can choose to see it as an opportunity rather than a setback. Here's a question to reflect on. Think about a time when you faced a significant challenge. How did you grow from that experience? What strengths did you discover within yourself? By reflecting on these moments, you can begin to see adversity not as something to fear, but as a stepping stone to resilience. Remember, the Stoics remind us that true strength isn't about avoiding difficulties, it's about facing them with courage and using them to become the best version of yourself. Now turning to the sixth principle, let's explore how Stoicism teaches us to develop emotional equanimity. Imagine this: you're stuck in traffic, running late for an important meeting. The car in front of you suddenly stops and you feel a surge of anger rising. Your first instinct might be to honk, yell, or let frustration take over. But what if, instead of reacting impulsively, you paused and took a deep breath? This is where the Stoic practice of emotional equanimity comes into play, the ability to maintain balance and calm, even in the face of frustration or anger. The Stoics believed that our emotions are not controlled by external events, but by our judgments about those events. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic teachers, put it simply: it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. In other words, we have the power to choose how we respond to any situation. This doesn't mean suppressing emotions or pretending everything is fine. It means recognizing that our reactions are within our control, and we can choose to respond with clarity and composure rather than being swept away by anger or frustration. Consider a common scenario: a heated argument with a colleague or loved one. In the heat of the moment, it's easy to say things we later regret. But what if, instead of reacting immediately, we took a step back? The Stoics would advise us to pause, reflect, and ask ourselves, is this reaction helpful? Is it aligned with my values? By creating this small space between stimulus and response, we can avoid escalating the situation and instead respond with wisdom and calm. For example, imagine someone criticizes your work in front of others. Your first instinct might be to defend yourself or lash out. But if you practice emotional equanimity, you might choose to listen, reflect on the feedback, and respond thoughtfully rather than reactively. So, how can you cultivate this kind of emotional balance in your own life? Start by becoming more aware of your emotional triggers. Notice the moments when you feel anger, frustration, or anxiety rising. Instead of acting on those feelings immediately, take a moment to pause, breathe deeply. Ask yourself, what's really causing this emotion? Is it the situation itself or my interpretation of it? By practicing this kind of self-awareness, you can begin to respond to challenges with greater calm and clarity. Here's a question to reflect on. Think about a recent situation where you felt overwhelmed by emotion. How did you react? Could you have responded differently by practicing emotional equanimity? The Stoics remind us that true strength lies not in avoiding emotions but in mastering them. By developing this skill, you can navigate life's challenges with greater resilience and peace, no matter what comes your way. Now turning to the seventh principle, let's explore the transformative power of gratitude in Stoic philosophy. When was the last time you truly paused to appreciate what you have? In a world that often emphasizes what we lack, the Stoics remind us to shift our focus to the abundance already present in our lives. Gratitude, they believed, is not just a fleeting feeling but a practice, a way of seeing the world that cultivates inner peace and resilience. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, often reflected on the importance of appreciating the present moment. He wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." This simple yet profound idea underscores the Stoic belief that gratitude is a tool for grounding ourselves in the here and now. It's about recognizing the value of what we already possess, rather than constantly chasing what we don't have. Consider this: how often do we take for granted the small, everyday blessings, a warm meal, a kind word, or even the ability to wake up each day? The Stoics would argue that by focusing on what we lack, we create unnecessary suffering for ourselves. But by practicing gratitude, we can reframe our perspective and find contentment in the present. For example, imagine you're feeling stressed about a busy day ahead. Instead of dwelling on the challenges, take a moment to reflect on what's going well. Maybe you have a supportive friend, a roof over your head, or even the simple pleasure of a quiet morning. These are all things to be grateful for, and acknowledging them can shift your mindset from one of scarcity to one of abundance. One practical way to cultivate gratitude is by keeping a gratitude journal. Each day, take a few minutes to write down 3 things you're thankful for. They don't have to be grand or extraordinary. It could be as simple as a good cup of coffee, a kind gesture from a stranger, or a moment of peace during a hectic day. Over time, this practice can help you develop a habit of noticing and appreciating the good in your life, even during difficult times. Here's a question to reflect on: what are 3 things you're grateful for today? Take a moment to think about them. The Stoics teach us that gratitude is not just about feeling good, it's about building resilience. When we focus on what we have rather than what we lack, we strengthen our ability to face life's challenges with a sense of balance and perspective. By practicing gratitude, we not only enrich our own lives but also cultivate a deeper connection to the world around us. So, as you move through your day, remember to pause and appreciate the abundance that's already yours. Now turning to the 8th principle, let's delve into the Stoic wisdom of letting go of external validation. How often do we find ourselves seeking approval from others, whether it's through likes on social media, praise at work, or validation from friends and family? The Stoics remind us that relying on external approval for our sense of self-worth is a precarious path. Instead, they teach us to find our value within ourselves, independent of others' opinions. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, put it simply: if you wish to improve, be content to appear clueless or stupid in extraneous matters. What he's saying is that the opinions of others are ultimately beyond our control, and attaching our self-worth to them only leads to frustration and insecurity. The Stoics believed that true strength comes from cultivating an internal compass, a sense of self that isn't swayed by the ever-changing tides of external judgment. Consider this: imagine you're pursuing a passion or a dream, something that truly matters to you, but along the way you face criticism or doubt from others. Maybe someone tells you it's a waste of time or that you're not good enough. The Stoic approach here isn't to ignore feedback entirely, but to recognize that the ultimate measure of your worth isn't in what others think, it's in your own commitment to living with integrity and purpose. For example, think of an artist who continues to create despite harsh critiques, or an entrepreneur who pushes forward even when others doubt their vision. Their strength lies in their ability to stay true to themselves regardless of external validation. Here's a question to reflect on. Where in your life are you seeking approval from others? Is it in your career, your relationships, or even your hobbies? The Stoics would encourage you to pause and ask yourself why. Are you chasing external validation because it aligns with your values or because you're afraid of being judged? By letting go of the need for others' approval, you free yourself to live authentically and focus on what truly matters to you. This principle isn't about becoming indifferent to others or isolating yourself. It's about recognizing that your worth isn't determined by external measures. When you stop seeking validation from outside sources, you gain a deeper sense of confidence and resilience. You become less reactive to criticism and more grounded in your own values. So, as you move forward, remember that your self-worth is something no one can take away. It's yours to define and nurture. Let go of the need for external validation, and you'll find a stronger, more authentic version of yourself. Now turning to the 9th principle, let's explore the Stoic practice of preparing for the worst while hoping for the best. How can anticipating challenges actually make you stronger? The Stoics believed that by mentally rehearsing potential difficulties, we can build resilience and reduce the fear of the unknown. This practice, known as premeditatio malorum, or the premeditation of evils, is about envisioning worst-case scenarios, not to dwell on them, but to prepare ourselves emotionally and mentally for whatever life throws our way. Seneca, one of the most influential Stoic philosophers, wrote extensively about this idea. He said, "What is quite unlooked for is more crushing in its effect, and unexpectedness adds to the weight of a disaster." This is a reason for ensuring that nothing ever takes us by surprise. In other words, by imagining the challenges we might face, we can approach them with clarity and composure rather than being overwhelmed by shock or fear. This doesn't mean we should live in constant worry. It means we should be ready so that when difficulties arise, we're not caught off guard. Let's take a modern example. Imagine you're planning for a major financial setback, like losing your job or facing an unexpected expense. The Stoic approach would be to consider this possibility ahead of time. What steps could you take now to prepare? Maybe it's building an emergency fund, learning new skills to increase your employability, or simply reflecting on how you'd adapt if your income were reduced. By thinking through these scenarios, you're not only preparing practically but also emotionally. You're training your mind to stay calm and resourceful even in tough situations. This principle isn't about pessimism, it's about empowerment. When you prepare for the worst, you're not inviting disaster, you're building a foundation of strength and adaptability. It's like carrying an umbrella on a cloudy day. You hope it won't rain, but if it does, you're ready. The Stoics believe that this kind of preparation frees us from anxiety and allows us to face life's uncertainties with courage. So here's a question to reflect on. What challenges might you face in the near future, and how can you prepare for them? Whether it's a difficult conversation, a career transition, or a personal goal, take a moment to consider the obstacles you might encounter. How can you approach them with a Stoic mindset, calm, prepared, and focused on what you can control? By practicing premeditatio malorum, you're not just bracing for the worst, you're cultivating the resilience to thrive, no matter what comes your way. Now turning to the 10th principle, let's delve into the Stoic emphasis on virtue as the highest good. The Stoics believed that true fulfillment doesn't come from wealth, fame, or external success. It comes from living a life of integrity, wisdom, and moral character. Virtue, for the Stoics, is the foundation of a meaningful life. It's about aligning your actions with what is right, even when it's difficult or inconvenient. As Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one." This powerful statement reminds us that virtue isn't just an abstract idea, it's something we must actively practice every day. Living with virtue means prioritizing honesty, courage, justice, and self-discipline in all aspects of life. It's about making choices that reflect your deepest values even when no one is watching. For example, imagine you're faced with a situation where telling a small lie could save you from an awkward conversation or a minor inconvenience. The Stoic approach would be to choose honesty, not because it's easy, but because it's the right thing to do. By consistently acting with integrity, you build a sense of inner peace and self-respect that no external reward can match. The Stoics also believed that virtue is the only thing truly within our control. While external circumstances like wealth, health, or reputation can change in an instant, our character remains ours to shape. This is why they placed such a high value on moral excellence. It's not about being perfect, it's about striving to be better even in the face of challenges. As Marcus Aurelius put it, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. In other words, the choices we make and the values we uphold shape who we are at our core. So, how can you apply this principle in your own life? Start by reflecting on your values. What matters most to you? Is it kindness, fairness, or perseverance? Once you've identified your core values, consider how you can live them out in your daily actions. For instance, if you value courage, how can you step outside your comfort zone to stand up for what's right? If you value justice, how can you advocate for fairness in your community or workplace? The Stoics remind us that true strength comes from aligning our actions with our principles, even when it's hard. Here's a question to ponder. What does virtue mean to you, and how can you embody it more fully in your life? Whether it's through small acts of kindness, standing up for what's right, or simply being honest with yourself, every choice you make is an opportunity to live with integrity. By focusing on virtue above all else, you're not just building a stronger character, you're creating a life of purpose and fulfillment, no matter what challenges come your way. Now turning to the 11th principle, let's explore the Stoic practice of self-discipline as a path to freedom and mastery. Have you ever set a goal for yourself, maybe to exercise regularly, eat healthier, or wake up earlier only to find yourself struggling to stick to it? It's a challenge we've all faced, and the Stoics understood that self-discipline isn't just about willpower. It's about aligning your actions with your long-term values and goals. As Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." This simple yet profound statement reminds us that true freedom comes from mastering our desires, impulses, and habits. The Stoics believed that self-discipline is the key to unlocking our potential and living a life of purpose. It's not about depriving yourself or living a rigid, joyless existence. Instead, it's about making conscious choices that align with what truly matters to you. For example, imagine you're trying to establish a daily routine that includes time for exercise, reflection, and work. At first, it might feel difficult to stick to this routine, especially when distractions or temptations arise. But the Stoic approach would be to focus on the bigger picture: your health, your growth, and your long-term goals. By practicing self-discipline, you're not just building a routine, you're cultivating the inner strength to stay committed to what matters most. Epictetus taught that self-discipline begins with controlling our desires. He argued that many of our struggles come from wanting things that are beyond our control, like external validation, material possessions, or immediate gratification. Instead, he encouraged us to focus on what we can control: our thoughts, actions, and responses. For instance, if you're tempted to skip your morning workout because you're feeling tired, the Stoic approach would be to remind yourself why you started in the first place. Is it to improve your health, build resilience, or set a positive tone for the day? By shifting your focus to your intentions rather than your impulses, you can strengthen your self-discipline over time. So, how can you apply this principle in your own life? Start by identifying one area where you'd like to practice greater discipline. Maybe it's managing your time more effectively, reducing screen time, or committing to a daily mindfulness practice. Once you've chosen an area, create a simple plan to help you stay on track. For example, if you want to wake up earlier, you might set a consistent bedtime, prepare your morning routine the night before, and remind yourself of the benefits of starting your day with intention. The key is to start small and build gradually, focusing on consistency rather than perfection. Here's a question to reflect on. What's one habit or goal you've been struggling to stick to, and how can you approach it with greater self-discipline? Remember, self-discipline isn't about being perfect, it's about making progress one step at a time. By practicing self-discipline daily, you're not just building better habits, you're cultivating the inner strength to live a life of freedom, mastery, and purpose. As the Stoics remind us, the path to true fulfillment begins with mastering ourselves. Now turning to the 12th principle, let's explore how the Stoics viewed obstacles not as roadblocks but as opportunities for growth. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most renowned Stoic philosophers, faced immense challenges during his reign as Roman emperor. From political turmoil to personal loss, he encountered countless difficulties. Yet he saw these obstacles as opportunities to strengthen his character and deepen his wisdom. In his writings, he often reflected on the idea that the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. This powerful mindset reminds us that challenges are not setbacks, they are stepping stones. The Stoic approach to obstacles is rooted in the belief that every difficulty carries within it the potential for growth. Instead of resisting or resenting challenges, the Stoics encourage us to embrace them as opportunities to learn, adapt, and become stronger. Seneca, another great Stoic thinker, put it this way: difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. This perspective shifts our focus from what we're losing to what we're gaining. When we face a challenge, we're not just enduring hardship, we're building resilience, gaining wisdom, and developing the skills to handle future obstacles with greater ease. Consider a modern example. Imagine you've experienced a major career setback, like losing a job or being passed over for a promotion. At first, it might feel like a crushing blow, leaving you questioning your abilities and future. But the Stoic mindset would encourage you to reframe this situation. What can you learn from this experience? Perhaps it's an opportunity to reassess your career goals, develop new skills, or explore a path you hadn't considered before. By viewing the setback as a chance to grow, you transform what could have been a source of frustration into a catalyst for personal and professional development. So, how can you apply this principle in your own life? Start by reflecting on a current challenge or obstacle you're facing. Instead of focusing on the difficulty, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can this situation help me grow? For instance, if you're dealing with a strained relationship, you might see it as an opportunity to practice patience, empathy, and better communication. If you're struggling with a health issue, it could be a chance to prioritize self-care and build healthier habits. The key is to shift your perspective from seeing obstacles as problems to viewing them as opportunities. Here's a question to reflect on. What's one obstacle in your life right now, and how can you reframe it as an opportunity for growth? Remember, the Stoics teach us that challenges are not meant to break us, they're meant to build us. By adopting this mindset, you can turn every difficulty into a stepping stone toward a stronger, wiser, and more resilient version of yourself. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, what stands in the way becomes the way. Now turning to the 13th principle, let's explore the Stoic virtue of humility and its profound impact on our lives. How often do you let pride dictate your actions? It's a question worth reflecting on because pride can often blind us to our own flaws and limit our ability to grow. The Stoics believed that humility is not a weakness but a strength, a way to stay grounded, open to learning, and connected to others. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic teachers, warned about the dangers of arrogance, saying, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." This simple yet powerful statement reminds us that humility is the foundation of wisdom. When we approach life with a humble mindset, we create space for growth, understanding, and deeper relationships. Humility, in the Stoic sense, is about recognizing our limitations and embracing the fact that we don't have all the answers. It's about being willing to admit when we're wrong, to listen to others, and to learn from our mistakes. Think about a time when you made a mistake, perhaps at work, in a relationship, or in a personal project. Did you own up to it, or did pride get in the way? Admitting a mistake can be uncomfortable, but it's also incredibly liberating. It shows courage, honesty, and a commitment to self-improvement. The Stoics would argue that this kind of humility is essential for living a virtuous life. Consider a modern example. Imagine you're leading a team at work and a project doesn't go as planned. Instead of blaming others or making excuses, you take responsibility for your part in the outcome. You acknowledge where things went wrong, and you use the experience as an opportunity to learn and improve. This act of humility not only strengthens your character, but also earns the respect and trust of your team. It fosters a culture of accountability and collaboration where everyone feels valued and empowered to grow. So, how can you practice humility in your own life? Start by reflecting on areas where pride might be holding you back. Are there situations where you struggle to admit you're wrong? Do you find it difficult to ask for help or accept feedback? The Stoics encourage us to see humility as a daily practice, a way of staying open and teachable, even in the face of success or praise. For instance, if you receive recognition for an achievement, take a moment to acknowledge the contributions of others and recognize the role of luck or circumstance in your success. This not only keeps you grounded, but also strengthens your relationships and sense of gratitude. Here's a question to reflect on. Where in your life could you benefit from practicing more humility? Whether it's in your relationships, your career, or your personal growth, humility can be a powerful tool for fostering connection and growth. As Epictetus reminds us, true wisdom begins with the recognition of what we don't know. By embracing humility, we open ourselves to a richer, more meaningful life, one where we're constantly learning, growing, and becoming the best version of ourselves. Now turning to the 14th principle, let's reflect on the fleeting nature of life and how embracing its impermanence can transform the way we live. Life is short and time is our most precious resource, yet it's easy to forget this truth in the busyness of everyday life. The Stoics practiced Memento Mori, which translates to remember you must die, not as a morbid fixation, but as a powerful reminder to live with purpose and intention. Marcus Aurelius, in his meditations, often reflected on mortality, writing, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." This stark reminder urges us to focus on what truly matters and to let go of distractions that pull us away from our values. Memento Mori isn't about fear or despair, it's about clarity. When we acknowledge that our time is limited, we're more likely to prioritize the things that bring meaning to our lives, our relationships, our passions, and our contributions to the world. Think about it. If today were your last day, how would you spend it? Would you waste hours scrolling through social media? Or would you reach out to a loved one, pursue a dream, or simply savor the beauty of the present moment? The Stoics believed that remembering death helps us live more fully, not in fear of the end, but in appreciation of the time we have. Consider a practical example. Imagine you've been putting off spending quality time with your family because of work or other commitments. One day, you receive news that reminds you of life's fragility. Perhaps a friend falls ill, or you hear about a sudden loss in your community. In that moment, the urgency to connect with your loved ones becomes clear. You cancel unnecessary meetings, set aside distractions, and make time for what truly matters. This is Memento Mori in action, a wake-up call to align your actions with your deepest values. So, how can you incorporate this practice into your own life? Start by taking a few moments each day to reflect on the impermanence of life. It doesn't have to be a long meditation, just a simple reminder that today is a gift. Use this awareness to guide your decisions. Are you spending your time on things that align with your values? Are you nurturing the relationships that bring you joy and meaning? The Stoics would encourage you to live as if each day could be your last, not out of fear, but out of a deep respect for the preciousness of life. Here's a question to reflect on. What would you do differently if you truly embraced the idea that life is fleeting? Whether it's reconnecting with an old friend, pursuing a long-held dream, or simply being more present with the people you love, Memento Mori invites us to live with intention and gratitude. As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the awareness of our mortality is a gift, one that can inspire us to live more fully, love more deeply, and make every moment count. Now turning to the 15th principle, let's explore how cultivating inner peace through simplicity can transform the way we navigate life's challenges. Imagine this: you wake up to a cluttered room, your phone buzzing with notifications, your to-do list overflowing, and your mind racing with 100 thoughts at once. It's overwhelming, isn't it? The Stoics believe that simplicity is not just a lifestyle choice, it's a path to tranquility and clarity. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, once wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." This profound insight reminds us that true wealth lies not in accumulating more, but in finding contentment with less. Simplicity, in the Stoic sense, is about stripping away the unnecessary, whether it's physical clutter, mental distractions, or emotional baggage. When we simplify our lives, we create space for what truly matters: peace of mind, meaningful relationships, and a deeper connection to our values. Think about your own life for a moment. How much of what you own or what you spend your time on actually adds value to your life? How much of it is just noise, distractions that pull you away from your goals and your sense of inner calm? Let's take a practical example: decluttering your environment. Picture your workspace or your home. Are there items lying around that you no longer use or need? Clutter isn't just a physical burden, it's a mental one. Every time you look at that pile of unused items, your brain registers it as unfinished business, creating a subtle but constant source of stress. By decluttering, you're not just tidying up your space, you're clearing your mind. The Stoics would argue that this act of simplification is a form of self-discipline, a way to take control of your environment and, by extension, your inner state. But simplicity goes beyond just physical clutter. It's also about simplifying your commitments, your schedule, and even your thoughts. How often do you say yes to things out of obligation, only to feel drained and resentful later? The Stoics would encourage you to evaluate your commitments and let go of those that don't align with your values or bring you joy. This isn't about being selfish, it's about being intentional. When you simplify your life, you create more room for the things that truly matter: time with loved ones, pursuing your passions, and nurturing your inner peace. So, how can you start simplifying your life today? Begin with one small step. Maybe it's clearing out a drawer, turning off unnecessary notifications, or saying no to a commitment that doesn't serve you. Reflect on this question: what is one area of your life where you could embrace simplicity to create more peace and clarity? As Seneca reminds us, the key to tranquility lies not in having more, but in needing less. By cultivating simplicity, you're not just decluttering your surroundings, you're creating space for a more intentional, fulfilling, and peaceful life. Now turning to the 16th principle, let's explore how practicing compassion toward others can strengthen your resilience and deepen your connection to the world around you. How can kindness, often seen as a soft virtue, actually make you stronger in the face of life's challenges? The Stoics believed that empathy and understanding were not just moral obligations but essential components of a virtuous life. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, wrote, "What is not good for the hive is not good for the bee." This simple yet profound statement reminds us that our well-being is deeply intertwined with the well-being of others. When we practice compassion, we not only uplift those around us but also fortify our own inner strength. Compassion, in the Stoic sense, is about recognizing the shared humanity in everyone. It's about understanding that every person is fighting their own battles, often invisible to the outside world. By extending kindness and fairness to others, we cultivate a sense of connection and purpose that can sustain us through difficult times. Think about it: when you help someone in need, whether it's a friend, a stranger, or even someone who has wronged you, you're not just improving their day, you're also reinforcing your own sense of agency and resilience. Acts of compassion remind us that we have the power to make a positive impact even in small ways. Let's take a practical example. Imagine you're walking down the street and you see someone struggling with heavy bags. You could choose to walk past, absorbed in your own thoughts, or you could stop and offer to help. That small act of kindness might seem insignificant, but it has a ripple effect. It strengthens your ability to see beyond your own struggles and connect with others. It also reinforces the Stoic idea that we are part of a larger community and our actions matter. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on the importance of treating others with fairness and respect, not because they deserve it, but because it aligns with our own values and brings us closer to living a virtuous life. But compassion isn't just about grand gestures. It's also about the small, everyday moments: listening to a friend who's going through a tough time, offering a kind word to a colleague, or even forgiving someone who has hurt you. These acts require emotional strength and self-awareness, qualities that the Stoics valued highly. When you practice compassion, you're not just helping others, you're also training yourself to respond to life's challenges with grace and understanding. So, how can you start practicing more compassion in your daily life? Begin by asking yourself this question: how can I show kindness to someone today? It could be as simple as sending a thoughtful message, volunteering your time, or even just offering a smile to someone who looks like they need it. Reflect on this. What is one way you can extend compassion to others, and how might that act strengthen your own resilience? As Marcus Aurelius reminds us, true strength lies not in isolation but in our ability to connect with and uplift those around us. By practicing compassion, you're not just enriching the lives of others, you're building a foundation of inner peace and resilience that will carry you through life's toughest moments. Now, turning to the 17th principle, let's explore the transformative power of daily self-reflection. The Stoics believed that taking time to reflect on our actions and intentions was not just a habit but a cornerstone of personal growth and resilience. As Seneca once wrote, "Each day acquire something that will fortify you against poverty, against death, indeed against other misfortunes as well." This idea of daily reflection is about more than just looking back. It's about learning, growing, and preparing ourselves to face life's challenges with greater wisdom and clarity. Self-reflection, in the Stoic tradition, is a deliberate practice of examining our thoughts, decisions, and behaviors. It's about asking ourselves tough questions. Did I act in alignment with my values today? Did I respond to challenges with patience and integrity? Where did I fall short, and how can I improve? This process isn't about self-criticism but about cultivating self-awareness and accountability. By reflecting on our actions, we create an opportunity to learn from our mistakes, celebrate our successes, and set intentions for the days ahead. One of the most practical ways to incorporate this principle into your life is through journaling or evening reviews. Imagine ending your day by sitting down with a notebook or a quiet moment of thought. You might ask yourself questions like, what went well today? What could I have handled differently? Did I treat others with kindness and fairness? This simple practice allows you to process your experiences, gain insights, and make adjustments for the future. It's not about dwelling on the past, but about using the past as a teacher. Let's take a real-life example. Suppose you had a difficult conversation with a colleague earlier in the day. During your evening reflection, you might realize that while you stood your ground, you could have been more empathetic in your approach. This insight doesn't mean you failed. It means you've identified an area for growth. The next time a similar situation arises, you'll be better equipped to handle it with both strength and compassion. This is the essence of Stoic reflection. It's a tool for continuous improvement, helping us become more resilient and virtuous over time. But self-reflection doesn't have to be complicated or time-consuming. Even a few minutes of quiet thought before bed can make a difference. The key is consistency. By making reflection a daily habit, you create a space for self-awareness and intentionality in your life. It's a way to pause, recalibrate, and ensure that your actions align with your values. So, how can you start practicing daily reflection? Begin by setting aside a few minutes each evening to review your day. You might write down your thoughts or simply sit quietly and think about what went well and what could be improved. Ask yourself, did I live in accordance with my principles today? What lessons can I take from today's experiences? As Seneca reminds us, reflection is not just a practice, it's a way to fortify ourselves against life's uncertainties. By reflecting daily, you're not just reviewing your actions, you're building a stronger, more resilient version of yourself, one day at a time. Now turning to the 18th principle, let's explore the importance of letting go of the past. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack filled with regrets, mistakes, and grudges. Every step feels harder, every moment weighed down by what's already happened. This is what it's like to hold onto the past. It drains your energy and keeps you from fully embracing the present. The Stoics understood this deeply. They believed that focusing on what's already happened only distracts us from what we can control, the here and now. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, put it simply, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. This idea reminds us that while we can't change the past, we can choose how we respond to it. Dwelling on past mistakes or holding onto resentment doesn't serve us. It keeps us stuck in a cycle of regret and bitterness, preventing us from moving forward. The Stoic approach is to acknowledge the past, learn from it, and then let it go. This doesn't mean ignoring or forgetting what happened. It means refusing to let it control your present or dictate your future. Consider this example. Imagine you had a falling out with a close friend years ago. You've replayed the argument in your mind countless times, wondering what you could have done differently. Maybe you even feel anger or sadness whenever you think about it. The Stoic response would be to recognize that the past is unchangeable. Instead of dwelling on it, you can choose to forgive not just the other person, but yourself. Forgiveness doesn't mean excusing what happened. It means releasing the emotional weight so you can move forward with clarity and peace. Letting go of the past also means releasing the stories we tell ourselves about who we are. Maybe you've labeled yourself as someone who always fails or makes mistakes. The Stoics would challenge this. They'd remind you that your past doesn't define you, your choices in the present do. By focusing on what you can control today, you free yourself from the chains of yesterday. This shift in perspective is empowering. It allows you to take ownership of your life and create a future aligned with your values. So, how can you start letting go of the past? Begin by identifying what's holding you back. Is it a regret, a grudge, or a self-limiting belief? Write it down or reflect on it honestly. Then ask yourself, does holding onto this serve me? What can I learn from it? Finally, make a conscious choice to release it. This might mean forgiving someone, making amends, or simply deciding to stop revisiting a painful memory. The act of letting go is a practice, not a one-time event. It requires patience and self-compassion. As Epictetus reminds us, the past is beyond our control, but the present is ours to shape. By letting go of what's already happened, you create space for growth, peace, and new possibilities. Take a moment to reflect. What from your past are you ready to release? What would it feel like to step into the present with a lighter heart and a clearer mind? This is the power of Stoic wisdom. It helps us shed the weight of the past so we can live fully in the now. Now turning to the 19th principle, let's explore the virtue of patience. How often do you rush through life without savoring the journey? In a world that values speed and instant results, patience can feel like a forgotten art. But for the Stoics, patience wasn't just a virtue, it was a way of life. It's about enduring challenges with calm, appreciating the process, and trusting that growth takes time. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king, wrote extensively about the importance of patience. He reminded himself and us that everything that happens as it should, and if you observe carefully, you will find this to be so. This perspective encourages us to trust the natural flow of life, even when it feels slow or uncertain. Patience is not passive waiting, it's an active practice of resilience. Think about a long-term goal you're working toward. Maybe it's building a career, improving a skill, or nurturing a relationship. The Stoics would remind you that progress often happens in small, almost invisible steps. It's easy to feel frustrated when results don't come quickly, but patience teaches us to find value in the journey itself. For example, imagine you're learning a new language. At first, progress might feel slow and mistakes can be discouraging, but with patience, you begin to appreciate the small victories. A new word learned, a sentence understood. Over time, these small steps add up to something meaningful. The Stoic practice of patience also helps us navigate life's inevitable delays and setbacks. Marcus Aurelius faced countless challenges during his reign, from political turmoil to personal loss. Yet, he consistently returned to the idea that patience allows us to endure with dignity. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." This mindset shifts our focus from what we can't control, like how long something takes, to what we can, our attitude and effort. Patience then becomes a form of inner strength, helping us stay steady even when the path is long. So, where can you practice more patience in your own life? Start by identifying areas where you feel rushed or frustrated. Maybe it's waiting for a promotion, healing from a setback, or even dealing with a slow-moving project. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this waiting period? How can I find meaning in the process? The Stoics would encourage you to see these moments as opportunities to cultivate resilience and gratitude. By embracing patience, you not only endure challenges but also deepen your appreciation for the journey. Take a moment to reflect. What would it feel like to approach life with a little more patience? How might it change your perspective on the challenges you face? The Stoic practice of patience reminds us that life's greatest rewards often come to those who wait not passively, but with purpose and presence. As Marcus Aurelius wisely noted, the art of living is more like wrestling than dancing, because an artful life requires being prepared to meet and withstand sudden and unexpected attacks. Patience, then, is not just a virtue, it's a tool for living well. Now turning to the 20th and final principle, let's explore what it means to live in alignment with nature. The Stoics believed that true peace and purpose come from living harmoniously with the natural order of the world. This isn't just about spending time outdoors, though that's part of it. It's about understanding and embracing the rhythms of life, accepting what is natural and finding our place within it. Seneca, one of the great Stoic thinkers, once wrote, "Nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished." This simple yet profound idea reminds us that there is wisdom in the way nature operates slowly, steadily, and without force. By aligning ourselves with this natural flow, we can find a deeper sense of calm and clarity in our own lives. Living in alignment with nature means recognizing that we are part of something much larger than ourselves. The Stoics saw nature as a guide, teaching us how to live with integrity, balance, and resilience. For example, think about the changing seasons. Each season has its purpose. Spring brings growth, summer brings abundance, autumn brings harvest, and winter brings rest. There's no rush, no resistance, just a natural progression. When we align our lives with this rhythm, we learn to accept the cycles of our own experiences, times of growth, times of challenge, and times of rest. This perspective helps us navigate life's ups and downs with greater ease and acceptance. A practical way to live in alignment with nature is to spend time outdoors, immersing yourself in the natural world. Whether it's a walk in the woods, a moment by the ocean, or simply sitting under a tree, these experiences can ground us and remind us of our connection to the earth. Nature has a way of putting things into perspective. When you're surrounded by the vastness of the sky or the stillness of a forest, the problems that once felt overwhelming can seem smaller, more manageable. This isn't about escaping reality. It's about reconnecting with what's real and essential. The Stoics also believed that living in alignment with nature means living in accordance with our own true nature. This involves understanding our values, strengths, and limitations, and striving to live authentically. For instance, if you're someone who thrives on creativity, make time for artistic expression. If you're naturally inclined to help others, seek ways to contribute to your community. By honoring your unique nature, you create a life that feels purposeful and fulfilling. So, how can you start living more in tune with nature? Begin by observing the natural world around you. Notice the patterns, the cycles, and the beauty. Reflect on how these principles might apply to your own life. Are there areas where you're resisting the natural flow? Are there ways you can simplify, slow down, or reconnect with what truly matters? The Stoics would encourage you to see nature not just as a backdrop to life, but as a teacher and a guide. Take a moment to consider, what would it look like to live more in alignment with nature? How might it change the way you approach your daily life, your relationships, or your goals? As Seneca reminds us, follow nature and you will never be poor. By embracing this final Stoic principle, you can cultivate a life of peace, purpose, and profound connection to the world around you. Now, turning to the conclusion of our exploration, let's take a moment to reflect on the 20 Stoic principles we've discussed. Each of these principles, from focusing on what you can control to living in alignment with nature, offers a powerful tool for navigating life's challenges with strength and resilience. Together, they form a framework for not just enduring hardship, but thriving in the face of it. Stoicism isn't about avoiding difficulties or pretending they don't exist. It's about meeting them head-on, armed with courage, wisdom, and a deep understanding of what truly matters. Think about the principles that resonated most with you. Was it the idea of embracing the present moment, or perhaps the practice of gratitude for what you already have? Maybe it was the reminder to view obstacles as opportunities, or the call to cultivate inner peace through simplicity. Each of these principles is a stepping stone toward a more resilient, purposeful life. They remind us that while we can't control everything that happens to us, we can always control how we respond. And in that response lies our greatest power. As Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." This is the essence of Stoicism, the belief that true strength comes from within. It's about choosing to focus on what we can control, accepting what we cannot change, and finding meaning in every experience, no matter how difficult. By applying these principles, we can transform adversity into growth, fear into courage, and uncertainty into clarity. So, what's next for you? Take a moment to reflect on how you can bring these Stoic principles into your own life. Which ones feel most relevant to your current challenges? How can you start practicing them today? Remember, Stoicism isn't a one-time fix, it's a lifelong journey. It's about building habits, cultivating awareness, and continually striving to live with virtue and purpose. Before we wrap up, I'd like to leave you with one final thought from Seneca. It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult. Let this be your reminder that you have the strength within you to face whatever life throws your way. The challenges may be tough, but so are you. If you found value in this video, don't forget to subscribe for more insights on Stoicism and personal growth. Share your thoughts in the comments below. What principle resonated most with you, and how do you plan to apply it in your life? Thank you for joining me on this journey through Stoic wisdom. Until next time, stay strong, stay resilient, and remember, the power to thrive is already within you.